Welcome to the Innovators Spotlight, a podcast featuring conversations with some of the most innovative leaders, designers, and technologists in biomedical engineering and the health sciences. I'm Sean Grace, and today's guest is Miss Krasi Hristov, Director of Research and Development for Mentor, a medical device company at Johnson & Johnson. Krasi has been with J&J since 2002 and holds 10 medical device patents. She is also the recipient of several leadership awards and has directed multiple global cross-functional teams in the development of innovative new devices for plastic surgery. Krasi is speaking with me today from her office at Mentor in Somerville, New Jersey. Hi, Krasi. Thanks for joining me today.
Hi, Sean. Nice to talk to you.
Thank you. You as well. So I understand you don't watch television and never had cable. Is that true?
That is true, yes.
Wow,
yeah.
Good for you. But how do you keep up with the latest episodes of The Crown and The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel?
Oh, I did watch Miss Maisel, so that's about streaming, but that a movie I'm not familiar, or a series I'm not familiar with.
You're not familiar with The Crown?
Nope.
Okay, good for you. So you have a very interesting background. Can you tell us a bit about your educational and professional career path?
Yeah, I can say perhaps that I'm a degree collector or a learner for life.
Okay.
I have several master's degrees, and they're spaced about 10 years or a decade apart. My first degree is in mechanical engineering, and I obtained that from the Technical University in Sofia. My next degree was in mechanical textile engineering and biomedical textile from Philadelphia University. And I'm very proud to share that I just obtained my Master's of Public Health degree from Rutgers University.
Wow, congratulations. Very impressive. 3 master's degrees in 3 decades. You mentioned Sofia. Is that Bulgaria?
That's right. Yep, that's where I was born.
So when did you come to the U.S.?
Oh, it's a long journey. I was born and raised in Bulgaria, and I left the country when I was 23 years old. And I look at my life back, and it's interesting how it connects the different political systems in the different countries I've lived. In Bulgaria, I grew up under the communism. Bulgaria was a communist country at that time. And I consider it my first formative phase in my life. I had a great experience. It was a safe environment, good quality of free healthcare and education, and also interesting gender equality. In the society, they didn't have perceptions which careers are for men or women. So that was my baseline growing up and approaching life later on. The next chapter in my life was when I lived in South Africa, very different time. The country was under apartheid, and I got to see the end of this era of the country. And there were many firsts for me in this country. First time to open a bank account. Bulgaria was a cash-only country. Buying a house, getting married, having a first child. And traveling, for example, on a bus that was whites only, seeing the ghettos, the poverty, and the social discrimination, that formed to me maybe the social responsibilities that a person has.
That seems like it would have been a very powerful experience. Very interesting times to be in South Africa, I'm sure.
It was very interesting and wonderful time, and seeing the apartheid end and Nelson Mandela being released from prison and becoming the president was a wonderful, I think, lifetime opportunity.
I can only imagine. Let me ask you this, Krasi. Obviously, a lot of your early training was in textile technology and the mechanics behind textile design. How did that lead to medical devices?
It is interesting because I was fascinated with textile for a very young age. I was helping my grandmother knit and do other textile things with her hands, learning sewing when I could not even reach the pedals with my feet. And in South Africa, I embraced that career. They have such a rich textile industry. And I get to work as a fabric designer, which is more like a fabric engineer, designing the structure of a fabric, knowing when to use thin fibers or thick fibers, depending what you get. And I did that in different areas, automotive textile, office textile, apparel. So I got that broad feeling of possibilities of design with different materials. And coming to the US in 2000, I realized there is not much textile, at least textile design in the country, very few specialized areas. So I decided to look for different opportunities, still textile, but maybe industrial textile or medical textile. If you think sutures, meshes, a lot of implantable products are made based on textile processes. So that's how I ended up in Philadelphia University in their textile engineering and biomedical textile program.
So, how did your passion and your early training in textile engineering inform your first foray into medical devices?
I think it goes back to being in school and working on. I had a teaching assistantship, and I was working on one project for my professor, and I grudgingly called it shoelaces because it was about modeling a braid. And another way to imagine a braid is your shoelaces. That's a type of a textile structure. And my friend, she got to work on this rapidly deployed shelter for emergency, and it sounded so cool. So I did not love at the beginning my shoelace project.
Okay.
But the more I worked it became more interesting, and I ended up even publishing an article and creating numerical models to predict behavior of such structures. So it wasn't a very straightforward jump, but it's always important to know what is the basis and how your knowledge and approach are transferable. Later on, I got to work on braided barb textile sutures for Ethicon and do a project, and this is also some of the patents I've done. It's transferable. Everything that you learn might be helpful later in life. So I accept any challenges, anything that comes in my way, knowing that it could be useful one day.
Such an important lesson, and you really are a living example of that philosophy. Krasi, can you tell us about your first patent?
Well, I actually don't remember which exactly is my first patent, but I remember several of them were related to that braided barb suture. And it was technical challenge that we needed to solve. And in the process of solving this problem, we discovered something new and novel that provides advantage to our company. So that's how we proceeded with patenting. But I think a step back, what is more important is to know the process of what patents are, how to discover different elements that can lead to a patent. So these are the two requirements: having an area to work and also knowing where you are going. That's why I would like to encourage everyone to be very familiar on this process early in their career.
Patent search and IP?
Patent search, IP, what are the elements of the patent? And we have wonderful groups here in medical devices that support and promote that innovation. And also for my team, sometimes I have to, we did purposeful training because idea is not equal to patent.
Right.
There are a lot of steps in between. And if you figure out what's the difference and how you can get there, you can be a good inventor.
Sure, makes sense. Krasi, speak about your efforts in the arena of market research and your process in how to scope out new ideas for a product and how you and your team may bring that product up the chain and into the marketplace.
Certainly. I think R&D engineer cannot be successful or achieve the maximum success if they don't understand the customer needs. And to understand the customer needs, you have to live very closely to them. And the people who can bring you to surgery initially are the sales reps and the marketing people. They have a different understanding than R&D engineer can have. And they're a wonderful source of information. The sales reps live in the OR. They hear the little comments that will provide additional insights, which are not on the drawing, it's not on the specification, but will provide that knowledge to help you design a better product. So that collaboration also will manifest with marketing, and collaboration with marketing and sales will manifest in rich discussion and reaching an agreement potentially, because the biggest struggle sometimes is R&D engineers looked as technology pushers, and marketing is seen as trying to please a customer. The truth is in between. So only working in that team, you can benefit of really designing a robust product that meets the needs of the customer.
I like that. Pushers versus pleasers. I'd like to switch gears a little bit and talk a little about your humanitarian efforts and what's been your experience in that particular area.
It's been also a wonderful learning journey. It happened to me that I was working in one of our projects, and we have representatives from medical affairs in our teams. And our medical director, Dr. John Kennedy, he's a very well-known plastic surgeon. He shared with me that he's leading a mission in Guatemala, and he has been doing that for many, many years. And he offered if I'm interested to join, and I was very pleased that I could do that. I was very nervous as a non-medical volunteer. Do I have place there? What can I do? And it turned out, as he had predicted, is a life-changing experience. It was
In what way?
It was an eye-opening to me. I did not know there is something like public health before. I was so focused on engineering and design and development, and that's how in 2012 I became aware of all these public health interventions and humanitarian missions and opportunities that we have, first to help the people, but also to give back to the communities from our personal perspective. So that's how I decided I want to do something in this area. And I don't know if it's going to be 5 years or 10 years from now, but this is what I would like my last third of my career to be.
So what did you end up doing in Guatemala as a non-medical volunteer?
So the first year that I went there, and I went 6 years in a row after that, that's how much I liked it.
Wow.
It was helping in the post recovery room when the little kids who were operated for cleft lip or palate, they were recovering, coming off anesthesia. So somebody just holding the oxygen mask or holding them and soothing them until they're ready to be discharged from that unit. And speaking about transferable skills, I realized that I really know very well all ethicon sutures, and I can help with the planning of the mission for next year, what sutures to order, how much. So slowly over the time, we design different processes, and this is where the J&J expertise comes in, different forms, different educational brochures, translated also in Spanish for preoperative instructions and discharge instructions, that we made them pictorial, so even people who did not speak English or Spanish could benefit from that guidance, how to take care of the child. Utilizing other experiences from J&J, project management and structure of the team and organization and meeting minutes turned out to be beneficial for the group. So I was able to go there for another 6 years. And as Dr. Kennedy says, you turn that mom and pop mission to J&J run project.
It sounds incredibly fulfilling, though.
Absolutely.
You know, I'd like to speak a little further about ideating new product ideas and what some of your methodology might be. I know we touched on it a little bit already, but I'd like to go a little deeper in how is it that you scope out new concepts for new products.
What I like to do is to spend time with the customers, and knowing some of the trends in the industry, you already have ideas what are potential areas. But observing a surgeon, how they perform their job, or listening to the congresses about findings of surgeons, it gives you that idea, where should I look? And from there, it seems very easy. Somehow the ideas, the unmet needs come back to you. We'll say, maybe, for example, this tissue expander, which is a product in our portfolio, should not be expanding laterally. We need to redirect that expansion to create more natural shape of breast after breast cancer reconstruction. And then all your engineering knowledge kicks in. Okay, how do I constrain expansion? I can do this and that and that. And you try different prototypes, and that quick turnaround of prototypes, getting additional voice of the customer from the field, from the surgeons, help you fine tune the design.
Listening, inferring, and then translating that into an engineering solution. So you spend a fair amount of time in the OR?
With my new role for the last 2 years, not as much as before and as much as I would love to, but I actually am working with my team based on a program already designed in Ethicon to implement a program that will allow the engineers to have easier and more scheduled access to operating room and work with certain surgeons. If you ask engineers why you don't do that more often, it's like, I don't know how to schedule. It takes a lot of time. So let's develop a program, and our colleagues have done that, to eliminate these barriers and make it easier.
Makes a lot of sense. Now, Johnson & Johnson, of course, is a very large company, one of the largest in the world. As a young engineer coming into the organization, brimming with passion and ideas and curiosity, how might you suggest they navigate such a large organization that could be at times somewhat overwhelming?
For me, coming to J&J from a smaller company, not even in medical devices, I perceive that as a wonderful opportunity. First of all, we have close to 140,000 smart, very, very smart people globally. So the amount of connections and knowledge that we can share, it's wonderful. Where else can you get that? So I don't see that as a huge challenging labyrinth. How do I navigate? I see it as possibilities. If I have a problem, someone else might know how to solve it or give me idea that will bring me closely to solving the problem. It also creates tremendous opportunities for you to participate in different events, even diversity and inclusion, community, internal J&J activities, and that's how you interact with people. And you also get visibility. In few of my assignments, I have been asked to do something because of my exposure to leaders through non-work related directly assignments. So my advice to people is, in order to navigate well in J&J, see it as opportunity versus an obstacle, and try to connect with many more people to increase your chances of getting that visibility. But the most important thing underlying, you have to be a good performer. Good work is a prerequisite for what you do. Good work and results and commitment.
Absolutely. You have to have the goods. All the connections in the world aren't going to make up for a lack of competence and excellence. Let me ask you this, Krasi. As a 17-year veteran now at J&J with a long, successful career, what advice could you impart to young engineers coming into the company now?
Oh, I envy. They have so many opportunities ahead of them. I would advise them to find joy in everything they do, to be curious, open-minded, and welcome challenges. Because challenges that you overcome, they boost your self-confidence and they make you stronger. I have a favorite saying which I heard a long time ago from one of my yoga teachers, and the essence of that scripture was, be the clay and be the master. So be the master to shape that vase or clay in any shape that you want, but also be the clay to be moldable to the external pressures and environment. Just
I like that.
live, yeah, be the clay and be the master.
I like that a lot. Krasi, looking back at the beginning of your career, what do you know now that you wish you knew then?
Looking back, actually, I'm very fulfilled and happy with where I'm now. But if I had to choose one thing that I maybe should have done differently, is to be more determined and owing my career versus letting things happen and unfold for me. Again, I'm very happy with the outcomes, but times have changed. Maybe 20 years ago, that was okay. I think the current generation of young engineers coming up, they definitely have that, at least what I can see in my interactions. But owning and driving your career and development is something that people should take to heart. That would be my advice.
Well, I have to say, Krasi, you have imparted some very valuable advice to our listeners today, including being a lifelong learner, learning from every experience, being able to transfer skills across a variety of disciplines, and of course, being proactive and taking ownership of your own career.
Exactly, because that gives you the feel I'm leading versus I'm following.
I want to thank you so much, Krasi, for taking the time to talk today. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you, Sean. It's been my pleasure.
The Innovators Spotlight podcast is brought to you by Johnson & Johnson's R&D Leadership Development Program, cultivating tomorrow's innovation leaders in medical engineering and technologies. I'm Sean Grace. Thanks so much for listening.